Welcome to Imperfect Momming. Our children are constantly looking to us for examples. The term role model doesn't quite cut it here. We are shaping their worldview with every move we make. You see, it's not in the lectures we give or moments where we are actively attempting to teach them. It's in the micro movements we make, the unconscious ways in which we navigate life. We are constantly teaching our children how to show up for themselves, their friends, their future partners, and even their future children. So what can we do to ensure we are raising thoughtful, compassionate, self-aware human beings? We have to become them ourselves. No one is perfect, but we can still all be better, and it starts with self-healing. Let's get to it. Welcome back to Imperfect Momming, and we have a very special guest today, Kristina Campos. Welcome to Imperfect Momming.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Well, I help parents of school-age children turn their chaos into connection. I am a parenting coach for parents with kids between the ages of like 8 and 18. And I do that in a variety of different ways. I help families by one-on-one coaching. I do it through like seminars that I give, but more importantly, I have an app that I created called Impactful Parent. And so created something that I wanted parents to have right in their pocket whenever they needed it so that they didn't have to go down that Google machine of crazy and actually get answers that are reliable and give them a good start on where they need to go in order to find exactly what they need. And so that's primarily how I help people, is through my Impactful Parent.
So say that again, that you go from chaos to
Yeah,
connection. Is that what you said?
I do. Yeah.
That
From the
was
chaos of
fire.
your life to connecting with your kids. Yeah.
Yeah. That is so important. And I literally say this on every episode, but the Dr. Dan Siegel and his book of No Drama Discipline and Connect Before You Correct
Yep.
is was life-changing, parent changing, but relationship changing for me and my son, because it's really hard to hug your child and be mad.
Yeah. It is. And
Stay mad anyway.
you have to have a connection with your kids if you want to have them listen to you, if you want to be an influence in their world, if you just want to have a happy household that's well balanced and you're not stressed out all the time. You absolutely need that connection. And that's really the foundation of, you know, to help you in your house. So that's exactly what I love to do, is help families connect.
That's so cool. You said some other really good things. The Google rabbit hole. That's not what you said, but that's what I'm calling it.
Oh,
Um,
yes.
yeah. What did you call it? The Google something of craziness.
Yes, it is. It is a rabbit hole of crazy. Like we all do it. I mean, you don't know what to do about something, including in your parenting, and you Google it. And man, you can get some crazy things on the Google machine. So, and it'll take you down to worrying and more. And that's not what you want. You actually go to Google to find answers,
Right.
not to get more worried. And so that's why I created my app, is I would really want people to look at it as a resource for them whenever they needed it. Because inside the app, you're going to find things like, how do I get my child to stop procrastinating? Or how do I get my child to stop yelling back at me? Or I think my child has ADHD. I'm not too sure. How do I know? I mean, literally, like all of your typical parenting questions and maybe even some atypical stuff too, because I put new content on that app every single week. So it's actually growing every week, and always trying to find new topics. So, yep, that's what it's all about.
Do you have an idea of what the biggest question is that you get
on your app? Like, does it tell you, does it give you the matrix of who's searching for what?
It doesn't, but I think in general, there is that lack of connection that we were talking about. Now, the parents don't realize it's a lack of connection, and not at first. They're coming in with, I don't know why they don't listen to me anymore. I'm so stressed out. I feel like I'm yelling all the time. They're ignoring me, but really that does start to boil down to a lack of connection. So actually, when you download the app, the first thing I do is I have a whole section that's like core content, and it's several videos on just like real fundamental things that I feel like every parenting household needs just to have. And some things like, how do I create rules? How do I create that connection with my child? Troubleshooting some of the simpler things that are just happening within a household. And then the real fundamentals of what kids need to be their best self.
I love that, because that's what we want. We want our kids to be happy and healthy and their best selves ultimately.
Absolutely. That's exactly what you want. And you just want to, grow these awesome adults. And honestly, we kind of screw it up sometimes because there's no manual. And man, we only parent the way that we were parented, or we go, I don't want to parent like my parents, and I'm going to do the opposite of that. But
Mm-hmm.
usually you need to land somewhere in the middle because this is just a new age of parenting. I mean, I wish I could parent the way my parents parented, which was barely around. I mean, I still come from a generation where, you sent out into the front yard and come back for dinner. And, and if I did something wrong, I got beaten. But we can't do that kind of parenting anymore. Unfortunately, it's so sad. But we can't just send our kids out, especially if you live in a big city. So then, how do we navigate this, and how do we figure out our own rhythm of parenting that works for us? And
Mm-hmm.
hopefully I'm helping people do that.
Yeah. Yeah, my I was actually kind of excited that my son was going to be a latchkey kid, because I gave him a key and he was going to be like, he's going to come home and have a key to get, like, if we weren't here, he has a key to get in, and he's had to use his key like twice.
Yeah.
Because especially with the pandemic, we're home. Like, it's just not. And then when I was a kid, I didn't get a key. I sat on the front porch until somebody was home, or the back porch, or I'd go down the street or across the street. And like it was, and I didn't have any problem with it. Like, I loved that we got to just hang out and do whatever we wanted until mom got home, and I didn't have to ask for permission for anything. And, just hang out with my friends and we'd have fun. And yeah, that's definitely what I miss. And we live in the middle of nowhere, so there's nobody for my son to play with. So he would be more than happy to be outside and to be, running around the neighborhood, but we don't live in a neighborhood. There's 3 houses on our block, and we're in the middle, and you can't even throw a rock and hit the next house, like, which is a whole different kind of cool, but not so much when you're an only child.
Yeah. Yep. And that's it. We used to be raised by each other, right? Like we used to learn things, and just it was trial and error as a kid. We had so much fun just trying to figure things out on our own. And
Yeah.
yet, yeah, we're not doing that anymore. The kids just are growing up a lot different. And then with social media and phones, I never grew up with that. That wasn't even a thing until I was like in college. And even then, I think I only had a pager in college. So
I remember my first phone, and it was like you paid per text, and that's why the writing of you, the letter U, are like, how are you,
yep, I remember.
character. Yeah, it's different. And it's like, when is too young to give your kid a phone? When's too young? Like, how much screen time is a big topic of conversation. And but it like you said, I would say most parenting or behavioral problems come from a lack of connection. Is that
Yeah.
what you're finding is? Yeah.
It is. I mean, not all of it. Certainly, kids just, get in trouble and experiment with things, whether have a good relationship with our child or not. That's just part of growing up. But
Mhm.
a lot of the super turmoil that happens in households tends to be from that lack of connection, that is really hard to keep in the adolescent years if you don't really throw down a good foundation between the ages of, I'd say 4 and 10,
Mm.
because those are some critical years to really get those bonds going. When you get to be a teenager, have a teenager, it's natural for them to start to separate from you and try to find their own identity. They have that inside them. They can't even help it. They're going to do it on their own because it's part of our instinct to separate from the family and go live on your own and do that kind of thing by that age. And so, yeah, it's if you don't have that connection and then you already have that separation that's coming from deep within your child, that's when we start seeing a lot of fallout.
Luckily, I'm not quite there yet. My son will turn 11 tomorrow, and he still wants to live with us until he dies. He doesn't ever
Perfect.
want to move out.
Perfect.
And and he gets sad anytime we even talk about like when you're 18, you're gonna want to move out. No, I won't. Okay, we won't talk about it.
Well, that's good. And the great thing too about having a good relationship, when I talk about my app is, a lot of people go to it when they need it most, right? But that's not actually what I want people to do. I want people to go to it to get ahead of what they need, to catch warning, like learn about stuff, catch the warning signs before the bad stuff happens. And a lot of that happens with being one step ahead and that continuous learning as a parent, which I don't understand why our society does not encourage that. Like everything else we take classes for, right, to be better at. But it's really hard to find parenting courses. I have a couple, but there should be hundreds out there and there's just
Right.
not. And to always be like one step ahead and learning and how can I do this better? And that's what I would love for a lot of impactful parents to do is to be as so excited and ambitious in their parenting that they want to be one step ahead. So they would download the app and start watching videos that maybe they don't even need quite yet, just so that they're ready for them. They can see those warning signs. And instead of coming back and having to rebuild and, go back again, you could catch some of this stuff if you just knew right away. And
Mhm.
so that it helps, yeah. And it's free too. Like my app is free, so anybody can download it.
That's awesome. I was going to ask that. And it is interesting that you only have like there's not a whole lot of parenting courses out there, and if there are, it's not. I mean, there's I call it Udemy, but I think it's called Udemy. I don't
Oh
know how to
yeah.
pronounce it, but it's like there's probably a dozen different courses on there, but there's only a few downloads of people that have purchased them versus, if you look at becoming a life coach and NLP, there's just millions of downloads
Yeah.
um, of all these different courses. And, I've looked at both. But I'm not saying that I'm not guilty of that because it was, I got into coaching and got into bettering myself, and my boyfriend was like, you read all these like personal and self-help books and whatnot, think of maybe picking up a parenting book. And I think my son was 6 by the time when I picked up the No Drama Discipline, and that's why I picked it up, is because we were having some drama discipline.
Mhm.
And of course I found the parenting book that is secretly a personal development book. Because that's what's interesting to me. But it's,
Yeah.
that he, I think, did a brilliant thing. And that's kind of the premise of my podcast, is that as you become a better person, you will become a better parent. And understanding how, you know, how you work and tearing down your walls are going to create more connection. And you're going to create less bad habits for your children as they grow up. Like you're not going to pass on your trauma to them as deeply if you're healing it if you heal it.
Yeah, I couldn't say it better. That's exactly what it is. And there is nothing like parenting to bring up all of that trauma you had when you were a child that you didn't even know you were festering deep down inside. Parenting will bring that out because those triggers, your kids will do something and then that'll totally trigger you. And before you know it, you're screaming and you're yelling and or even hitting your kid or whatever that might look like for you. And yeah, if we could only get on ahead of it, that would have been awesome. And okay, sometimes it's just too hard to get ahead and we can play catch up and that's okay too. But it's like when we have our child and they're little and they're babies, we get all the books and we're so excited. And there's all kinds of stuff out there for toddlers and how to handle toddlers. But then when you get to teenagers, you need just as much help, if not more. And the resources just aren't there unless there are several books, which are awesome, but then you have to have the time to sit down and read a book. And a lot of working parents, by the time that they do have teenagers, they just don't read as much anymore. They're not sitting and doing that like they were when they were breastfeeding and reading at the same time or whatever that might look like. So yeah, just another reason why I really felt that need and wanted to fill that gap so that parents could get answers right away in like 15 minutes. Like that's what I try to do. My videos are short and comprehensive. So you can go in there, find your topic, watch your 15-minute video, get your answers, walk away.
Yeah.
Because it's hard.
Yeah. I mean, especially moms are busy. And we're all busy to the extent that we really want to be, and sometimes overly busy. And Audible is a thing, and your app is a thing, and going to YouTube, like these are all things that we have access to that our parents didn't. And there's also a million different, there's the Google rabbit hole. YouTube is owned by Google. There's a YouTube rabbit hole you can go down too. So I love that you've kind of consolidated into one place.
Yeah, that's the hope. Make it easy.
Yeah, because it's hard. It can be anyway.
Yeah, it really can.
So how did you get started with coaching parents? Are you moms specifically, or both, or dad?
Both. Yeah, I am both. Oh man. Okay. Well, how did I get started? Actually, my journey starts with me crying in my closet. And if you're a parent, you know that place in your home where you go express your emotion and hide. Maybe you want to talk to a girlfriend or something and not have those little ears listening. Well, my place of solitude is my closet. And so I was crying and crying in my closet. The reason I was crying in my closet is because I was going through a divorce, and that was never something that I wanted to do. It kind of came out of the blue in some ways, and I was really upset. And when you're going through a divorce, everything changes, and it's terrifying. It's actually really scary. I thought it was super scary because your whole life is going to change. And I had been a teacher for about 15 years by that point, and I was like, how am I going to do this? How am I going to be a mom? And I have 4 children. How am I going to be a mom, really dedicate my life to my kids and teach? And no, there's no way my teaching salary would be able to do this. On top of that, I'm not the kind of teacher that just, oh, it's 3:00. School's over. Like I bring home with me, I'm always grading papers. I'm trying to help students. And so I'm just a helper. And I could not do that. At the same time, I had these emerging teenagers that needed me more at that point in their lives than they ever needed me before. And so I had to make some really hard choices. So I went back to school and got another degree and things. But through that process, I ended up just exploring what am I good at? What is it that I can contribute to the world? And I thought, well, one thing I know is actually teenagers. Like, I love teenagers. Middle school is my jam. I love middle school kids. And I don't think there's a lot of people who can say that. I mean, there's definitely a whole bunch of us, and I hope that there's more, but not everybody. And so I thought, well, that might be what I'm here for, is to help teenagers, but I can't get into the classroom anymore. So let's help teenagers at the source, which is in their home. And I saw this, that parents need help with their teenagers to understand how awesome they really, really are. They truly are great. And that they're just a little quirky, and their frontal lobe is not fully developed. They make some bad choices, but how do you navigate that? And so I like reading and self-development too. I'm all about that. So it's like, I'm just going to throw myself into learning more about that and really dive deep in and ask my kids, hey guys, what do you guys think about this? Because I'll probably be talking about you quite a bit. And all four of my children, my biggest supporters. They are absolutely behind me 100%. They love that I want to help. And I think it's because they saw their friends struggle with their parents. And they didn't understand that. They are like, I don't get it. My mom's great. I don't understand why everybody hates their mom and dad. And I'm like, well, not everybody's household is like this, so how, be empathetic, try to help them, blah, blah, blah. And they were just all about me trying to help other parents. So I dove in, and here I am.
Yeah. And you and I have very similar beginnings with it felt like it came out of the blue, and the divorce, and feeling terrified, and I was not thinking I'd ever be a single parent, and that was a fate worse than death to me.
Same.
And
Oh my gosh,
yeah.
terrifying.
And it was like my mom and then your story is similar to my mom's, and she had 4 kids. She had 3 when she was a single mom, but I'm like, I did it with 1. I don't know how you did it with 3, and geez, and I think that's where my soft spot for moms came from, is seeing my mom go through it, and all that she dealt with, and moms need support, and they need people like you, and they need people like me who are helping, and I love that your teenage boys were on board with your business, and they were like, what a great testimony to you that they were like, how come other people hate their parents? I don't understand. And I think that's amazing.
Well, thank you. It wasn't easy. I mean, this entrepreneurial journey is so not easy. And like I said, it's terrifying because it's starting something new. And through all of that, I actually, like the divorce part, I discovered that I had even lost myself in motherhood. So I had to rediscover myself that whole way through as I was going through the divorce. Because when I woke up from my divorce, I say woke up because, you cry in your closet, and you cry and you cry and you cry, and you got to let those emotions out. Like you do. You don't want to keep those in. But there also comes a time when you have to pull yourself up by your bootstraps and say, I need to move forward because I have all these eyes that need me and are watching. And they're looking at me saying, what now, Mom? What are we going to be doing? And so when I finally was able to peel myself off the floor, I looked at myself in the mirror, and then I didn't even recognize the person that was looking back at me. I started questioning everything. Like, do I like that movie, or do I not? Am I just used to that because he liked that movie? Do I want to cook that for dinner, or is that just a habit because I had to cook it all the time for him? And I mean, just started questioning the whole gamut. And so went through a process of, oh my gosh, I have been doing everything for everybody else for so long. And yeah, right. I mean, I know a lot of moms are probably nodding their head going, yeah, me too, right? Because that's what we do a lot of times as women. And to find that person again I actually even talk about it from time to time, where I have different steps that I've gone through to rediscover who I was, not only as a mother, but for myself. And like one of the things I did, for example, was when you're going through a divorce, it's a little bit easier because everybody already feels like they have to pick sides. Okay.
Mhm.
And so I just let everybody pick his side. Like I didn't say it out loud, but I stopped putting energy into those relationships and really started focusing on who can I meet now? Brand new people, because I want to meet new people. And this is really critical if you're lost yourself in parenthood and need to rediscover who you are, because the old people will have a perception of you that they will not be able to take away, because it's just how it is. Like they've known you, they know you as mom and as wife or whatever.
Mhm.
And I wanted somebody with people with fresh eyes who didn't even know my kids, wouldn't even know me as a parent, and definitely didn't know me as a spouse. And so I started going to meetup groups and making efforts. And can I tell you that making friends as an adult is so freaking hard? It's so hard because you're not like in school. You got to take a lot of effort to go meet new people, whether it's sitting at a bar alone. Yeah, did that. And yep. Or going to meetup groups, starting a new hobby and joining a volleyball team or a tennis team or whatever that might look like for you. Those
Mhm.
take energy. And on top of that, you got to get babysitters. It's so not easy. So I know, and I'm saying it, I'm like, oh, just do this. It's it's an effort, but it's an effort we're taking to really discover who you are, because it's cool that when you meet these new people, all of a sudden they start asking you questions about you. What do
Yeah.
you like? Who are
Mhm.
you? Do you want to go skiing with me? And you can decide. All of a sudden you start discovering, you know what? I don't want to go skiing. I would rather stay in on a Saturday and not fight the traffic that the mountain has. And hey, that's not for me. And that's okay. But you can claim it and become part of who you are in that way. And so, and it takes time and it's a process, but it's awesome when you can come out the other side. And that's what I did with this process is, who am I? What am I good at? Who should I, what should I do? If I can't teach, what am I going to do? And I really found that I needed to still serve people,
Yeah.
and then found out this is how I'll do it. This will be the new avenue.
I love the, how how you broke that down and how you went about figuring out who you are again and realizing I've lost myself and this is how do I find myself and figure that out. And it is so hard as an adult. And I think that that's probably depending on the time when I'm asking questions to moms, like that's one of the biggest objections and issues and struggles that moms have is that they don't have friends. They don't have us, they don't have their support group. They don't have, people that they spend time with that are adults and that they don't have to feed or, do laundry for or cook for or, whatever. And it's just recently, I would say in end of November, beginning of December, maybe it doesn't matter. Just a couple months ago, I realized that I don't have any local friends that
Mm.
that I spend any time with. And I realized that because I went to the hospital and I was thinking, I wish that I could call somebody to come with me. And my mom was out of the country and my stepmom was out of the state and my boyfriend was at work and I was like, there's nobody else that I could call right now to go with me to the hospital. And but I love the suggestion going to meetup groups and go like there's different things that you can do. And there were people that I could have called that I didn't think of because I just wasn't in the habit of like, hey, let's hang out outside of, you know, this normal group that I see you in, right? And it was it was kind of sobering, like, but because I don't feel alone because I meet amazing people like you all the time. and people that I connect with on a super deep level. So I don't, and then, you know, in my house, I have everything else that I need. So it's like, so I wasn't feeling I, like I don't have friends or I don't have a connection to people because I talk to people all day long and it's filling those needs. And then this other situation happened and I was like, yeah, it would be nice to have a local friend that we could go camping with, or that I could say, hey, I need somebody to go to the hospital with me, or like, you know, I want to have a mom's night out. Like, who wants to go with me? You know, just anything outside of what I've created right in this situation. So I like that suggestion.
And you want to build those friendships because when shit hits the fan and things are really bad, it is that circle of friends that is going to help you come through it. And it's awesome to have like a spouse or a boyfriend, or, those people are super important too. But that also puts a lot of weight on their shoulders to support you. So the more you can kind of little distribute it out a little bit, it does help. When one person can't be there, then you have these other people to rely on. And there's actually even a community feature inside my app too, because I believe in this so greatly, that you can start talking to people and other parents and ask questions to other parents inside the app and see if anybody wants anything. And then I do host like mom groups and things like that also, because it's just so important. We need other parents. We need that camaraderie. In Spanish, we call it a comadre or a compadre, so we need those people that just get us and help us in those really hard times.
Yeah. And I remember, you know, my boyfriend and I had a conversation where he had this kind of same realization of himself, that like I was his person that he goes to for everything. Like he has all of his eggs in my basket. And so that I said, that's not healthy for our relationship, because I can't fill all of your needs. There's no way that I can do that by myself. Like, you need to have your support system. I have my virtual friends. I have my support, and you need to have your support too. And so, we as a couple have started going out with friends of his that are also couples, and so we're going out together, and then I like encourage him, hey, go do something with one of your friends, like go work on a truck or something, so that you're doing something that's fun for you, and you're getting your cup filled outside of me filling it.
So important.
Yeah. Is there a piece of advice that you want to share with moms?
Oh, I have a million pieces of advice, but if I have to pick just one, I would say to spend at least 15 minutes every day, one-on-one with each of your children. And it's not a lot, 15 minutes. You're actually going to find that sometimes 15 minutes is really difficult to do, because we're talking about no phone, no distractions, and one-on-one. So no siblings either. 15 minutes with a kid, and what that does is it starts to cultivate that connection that a lot of people are looking for. We're so disconnected, even though we're very all connected by the web and all the things. And at the same time, we're in a time period where we're all very lonely. It's crazy oxymoron, right? But it's true. And kids really need the one-on-one time. And a lot of mistakes that parents make is they spend time with their kids, but they spend time, especially if they have multiples, right? But they spend time in a group with their kids, whether it's my spouse and me and my child, even if you only have one, or my 4 kids and me together. That's fine. It's awesome. It is not the same as 15 minutes of one-on-one time. It's just not. And you can start increasing that amount. But as a starting point, 15 minutes every day, little check-in. Doesn't matter what age your kid is. Could be before bedtime, could be in the car as you're driving from one place to another. With teenagers, it's so great to get them to open up. If you don't talk at them, but you talk next to them, if they're on the side of you, it's a lot less intimidating. So cars are great, even if they're behind you, because they don't have to look at you. Walks are also great, things like that. But that 15 minutes can open up so much.
Yeah. And I will add that if there's a dad, since we're talking to the moms, if there's a dad in the house in your relationship, suggest that same thing, that he spend 15 minutes one-on-one with the kid also by himself, because
Absolutely.
they need both.
They do.
Yeah.
They really, really do.
It's pretty like there's another parenting expert that I follow, and she says that's like the magic rule. Like that's the magic tool to use. That's not what she calls it, but I'm calling it magic. But that's the tool to use to create that connection and to have less behavioral problems.
It really, really is. I'm curious, does she say 15 minutes? Because that's my suggestion, but I didn't know if anybody else, do they agree with me?
I think she says 10 to start.
10 minutes?
But
Yeah.
I mean, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, it's so similar. Like I've heard one of my previous guests said, start your morning routine by getting up 10 or 15 minutes earlier. Like those bite-sized chunks, it's just little, it helps with the habit, because we love to say on January 1st, I'm going to get skinny. I'm going to go to the gym every single day for 5 hours a day. You might do that once, maybe.
Yeah.
And that's part of the reason that, those kind of New Year's resolutions don't last, because it's taking too much of a bite of your time. Like that, you have a busy life already. You have to take that, little chunks. So,
And don't be above this. I mean, really, I do this too. As me, a single mom, 4 kids, I even put it in my calendar. I will this is one kid's 15 minutes time period. I'm going to do it this time. And this kid's 15 minutes is going to be at this time. And I'll put it in my calendar, because everything else that's important to me, guess what? It's scheduled inside my calendar so that I don't forget, and I'm always going to do it, and I'm accountable and intentional about what I'm doing. But this little tiny shift in that mentality and your efforts, it'll go a long way with your kids. It's incredible. And I know people are here going, no way, 15 minutes. Truly, just 15 minutes, as long as it's one-on-one, no phones. And, for a teenager, you might be like, okay, how am I ever going to get my teenager off the phone? Again, it could be in the car as you're driving them to a sporting event. It could be, you could be creative with this, or you can even ask them to turn off their phone for 15 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever. But even if they don't, if you're there staring at them without your phone, being like, hey, asking them questions that they can't answer with yes or no, like they actually have to answer, then they're going to have to put the phone down. Or at least if you continue it with it, you're consistent. The first week, you might get a lot of eye rolls, but then they start really seeing your efforts as a parent, and that you're really trying to talk to them. And teenagers, I promise, they look tough on the outside, but inside they're still your baby. They actually really want your attention. They want you to do this for them. So win that battle, win this game that teenagers play. It's totally fine. They're doing it subconsciously. It's not their fault. Like, again, they're trying to separate, win the game. You can do it.
Yeah, I love it. Is there a book that's been instrumental in your personal development journey?
One of my favorite books is actually Tuesdays with Maury. And it's by Mitch Albom. And it's just a fictional novel. Actually, I don't even know if it's fictional. It might be based on a true story. And I think it's a wonderful way to put life into perspective and just remember what's really important to you.
Yeah. I've heard of the book. I don't recall ever reading it, but I know that I heard of it.
Such a
And
short, easy read too. Actually, I read it with my 9-year-old last year.
oh wow, very cool.
Mhm.
Where can our listeners find you?
Yeah. Well, you can go to theimpactfulparent.com, and on there, you're going to find all the things that I do, whether it's coaching or a link to the app. But you can go to the App Store. So if you have an Android phone or an Apple phone, go to your App Store, look up Impactful Parent and download it. Again, it's free. So mainly you're going to find me inside the app. But if you want to go to the online thing, theimpactfulparent.com, it'll get you there.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here and pouring into our guests and finding a way to serve the world and to serve moms that we need it.
And you also, thank you so much.
Thank you. So we'll have another episode of Imperfect Momming for you next week. And until then, keep healing. Bye, guys.
Thank you for tuning in to Imperfect Momming. It's time for us to step up and realize that our power is not in trying to shape our children. Our power lies in shaping ourselves into the people we want our children to model themselves after. Don't just do it for your kids. Do it for yourself. When you become a more self-aware, compassionate, and confident person, you and everyone around you benefit. For more information about me and my work, visit AlysiaLyons.com. That's AlysiaLyons.com. See you next time.